I didn't know that it was a problem till people of that culture started speaking up.
I'm glad it's a thing. I'm glad it's a conversation. And when people are like, it's a new thing, people didn't care before, is because we didn't have the platforms that we do now to speak up on it.
There needs to be a kind of recognition that just because you are adopting a culture or a part of a culture does not mean you are appreciating and accepting it.
Everything has significance. We can't just wear something or do something without knowing that there are consequences or people might get hurt.
Cultural appropriation to me would be taking someone's culture, whether you mean to do it right or wrong, without crediting where it came from. Also, not understanding the fact that there is consequences to what you're doing, whether it's a fashion editorial thing or if it's a Halloween costume or something for a festival.
Well, I think I am more aware of cultural appropriation because of, well, my skin color and where I'm from. You know, I can't not be, you know, I can't afford to be ignorant in this day and age. And it just, when you see people using your own culture and things that you used to claim as yours, that might have not been what was okay a decade ago but is okay now just because it's a trend, it gets to me.
I would probably say the main one that resonates with me the most, because I used to get bullied for it a lot as a child, is braids. Even though it seems really casual and it doesn't seem as bad to other people, but I know that black girls can relate, and some black boys, of course. Our hair tends to need extra care because of different textures. So braids are a protective style, and I used to just get bullied for it and called so many names that were really detrimental to now my mental health, basically. So seeing people like the Kardashian or the Jenner clan wear it and be praised for doing something in fashion, which is just so ridiculous, because people are just like, that's fashion, they look amazing, they're killing it. But just looking at it and seeing little me being bullied in school for it, I'm like, that's just not fair. I don't like that.
And it's also with hair, like you think, oh, it's just hair. You know, like it, again, you're also doing it for aesthetic reasons to protect your hair, but straight hair is, or whatever, it's seen as the default, it's the norm. You are celebrated in media. But then you have girls that their hair is put down time and time and time and time again, and you're okay, you can appreciate that, oh, I like their new hairstyles, I like this braided hairstyle, but you're not appreciating it, you're just adopting it and then being praised for it for something that they created.
The only problem that I have is when something like that has existed for so many years but is spat upon when that culture themselves embrace it, but it's suddenly looked up as a great thing when, say, another culture adopts it.
As an Indian, we wear bindi in the center, and I see a lot of people at Coachella and all these festivals wearing the bindi and trying to like see it as a trend.
There is a deeper meaning behind it, like that is someone's culture and their religion, and you think it's just a fashion statement. You're getting drunk on some field in some random place when this is something that people really take, is something really important to them.
When they do discuss the bindi or whatever, it's always just like it's an Indian thing. They never talk about it as if like, oh, yeah, like you said, it's a religious thing, it's something that's sacred. No, it's an Indian thing. I think it's a Bollywood thing. They don't even, that's when the appropriation, the nature of the appropriation actually,
like, are you appreciating it?
Yeah, rears its ugly head. Because then it's like, what you mean? Do you know what this is for? At least like body jewelry, really? But it is what it is. It is what it is.
I think it's always been the way we have been raised by media, the toys that we had, and you know, all of these things. That's why people are so obsessed with blonde hair and blue eyes. And because of that obsession, we only appreciate them, like the European looking people, and because of that we never shifted our focus towards brown or dark skinned people or people of other cultures. So yes, if blonde privilege did not exist, if we always had Bratz dolls, if we always had if we always embraced other forms of beauty, then we would never have this cultural appropriation thing going on, because then people would appreciate braids or dreadlocks on a black woman instead of Kim Kardashian, and bindis on an Indian woman instead of a white girl at Coachella with booty shorts. The reason why we get upset is not because that person is wearing something what we wear on the daily basis. It's because we get mad because people make fun of us for wearing that, and then people like them are appreciated for it. So that's where we get mad. We get mad because it's unfair.
If you can take off the cultural thing, just put it off and live your life without getting like the ostracization or this discrimination of people that get it from that culture, then you kind of have the responsibility to maybe raise some awareness about it or try to inform people that this is a culture to be celebrated rather than just aspects of it. So I think racism kind of seeps its way into cultural appropriation, or maybe it is the basis of it, because if you notice, it's again like how Google defines culture appropriation is a dominant culture appropriating the culture of a minority culture. And how are these dominant minority cultures formed? Like racism has to do with it, right? It's colonization, it's racism, it's imperial power, it's
white supremacy.
Yes.
I saw a newspaper cutting saying that a hijabi woman she could hardly breathe because she was dragged during a London attack only because she was a hijabi and she was a Muslim.
Let's go to the real tea. The real tea. Okay, so this was from Vogue, right? Gigi Hadid's Vogue shoot. I think she was like the first cover, right? So you're probably just like, why? Gigi Hadid's Palestinian and maybe Muslim, so this is fine. Basically, it is fine. But then you need to realize that people are literally getting skinned alive, killed, beaten up, extreme bullying, run over by cars. This list can go on of torture of Muslim women in society right now. But then this is like on a cover of one of the most influential magazines in the world. And then it relates to the Punish a Muslim Day. This is new. This was the 3rd of April, 2018. I remember seeing this on Twitter and I didn't think it was real. I was like, I know that it's bad, but I just didn't think it was this bad. So you can basically collect points for doing things to Muslims, where 10 points is basically, so the least one you can do is 10 points, and that's verbally abuse a Muslim, which is already very, very bad. And then we have 2,500 points, which is nuke Mecca. I have two things to say about that. Even thinking about nuclear bombing a holy site is absolutely ridiculous and fucked up. Like, that is a religious site, be it whatever religion it is, religious site, and you want to bomb it. The second point I want to have is, if you're involved with Punish a Muslim Day in the UK, where are you getting nuclear bombs from? Nowhere. You don't have that. So nobody's getting that 2,500,000 points. They tried it.
The thing with this was that the only people that would be severely targeted would be women wearing the hijab and guys with beards. And one of them is throw acid in their faces. And this is something that, this is not just because of this day, this happens constantly in the UK, especially just because they look visibly Muslim.
And here Gigi Hadid is basically wearing a headscarf, but she
celebrated. She's seen as being beautiful.
Basically, she's doing it for fashion, and I mean, people who are actually doing it for the religion are being ostracized for it,
being discriminated against.
Seeing all these together on one page is crazy to me. We have Gigi Hadid, Vogue cover. We have Muslim woman could hardly breathe after being dragged on ground by hijab in London attack. And then we have Punish a Muslim Day. And then we have this on top. Can we just take a moment and just really look at that? Because this is life right now in 2018. It isn't 1654. It isn't the 80s or the 90s. We're in 2018. And this is the reality of cultural appropriation.
It's just really sad that on one hand, in reality, people who actually wear these things, be it a hijab or be it a bindi or be it a kimono, they are made fun of. They're made fun of. And if Louis Vuitton has a collection, like an Indian collection, and if a model wears a bindi, they're just gonna say, wow, I'm gonna pay $500,000 for that because it's fashion. No, it's not fashion, it's my culture. Don't try to take it away from us.
Would Gigi Hadid be Gigi Hadid if she was a hijabi in the first place? This is okay because she wore it for this day and she took it off right after the photo shoot. So it's just, I think this just shows exactly
why
this
it's
exists.
problematic. Why it's problematic.
Yes.
Yeah, the fact that it exists, that on one hand you have someone living lavishly, I don't know, just being celebrated for the same thing that someone is doing in their day-to-day life.
And I honestly think one of the reasons of why she's being so celebrated is because it's not her default. It's not something that she does every single day.
There is another world where we can say there is a hijabi girl on a magazine, but then we also need to be reminded that people are being killed for it as well. Put aside braids, put aside bindis, put aside hijabs. These are people's lives that are being affected. People are losing their lives because of what you think cultural appropriation is. You think it's whatever. You think it's nothing. This is cultural appropriation. It is people's lives and their well-beings, their families, their children.
Something is wrong and you're not doing anything about it. And that's a problem with cultural appropriation. Because while we say it may not hurt someone, it does. Because at the end of the day, there is violence. There is always violence and threats to something that's different.
You know what? I'm gonna keep this one because this one's really important. It's annoying that there's dreads in the back, but then all this cultural appropriation, Muslim cultural appropriation, Native American, Black, Brown, North African. This is what I think about your costumes. This is what I think about your fashion little editorial shoots that use our cultures for fashion. This is what I think about it. Nothing. It ain't shit. It's nothing. I feel like if you don't have anything to say about this, you're adding to the opposing side. That's one of those topics. Just at least listen and try to comprehend that this is important to someone else and that this isn't a personal attack on you. There is a grander scheme of it. So people who tend to take it in, they're like, well, you know, we have to embrace other cultures and embrace other traditions. Yes, that's true. It's really great. That's how life has been moving. We take from here. We change up cultures like it's been happening for years. True. But then when you're using it and not crediting where it's come from or realizing that you are affecting other people, and there's just some things that you can't touch.
So something like henna, which is something I know in my culture, we interrelate a lot with religion, and it's something that people really appreciate. It's like it's Muslim culture mostly. But then when you see people in Coachella putting on henna because it's Coachella, you know, it's like, really, like that had a sacred meaning to me, and you're using it for the sake of a music festival, and they don't even pronounce it right.
Work off your own culture. Take from your own culture and make it look good. Boost your own culture as fashion. You can push boundaries and do new things without needing to offend a large group of people. You know that, right? What? I don't do that. Neither should you.
There's a big issue there of xenophobia, of racism, of all of the
Colorism.
yeah, all of the implications of colonialism and of everything that happened in the history. It's just that why are we making it worse by pretending to accept people or pretending to accept a culture when we actually aren't? Just because a culture is different, just because a culture is not like yours, does not mean it's worse, or does not mean it's weird, or does not mean that it's wrong. It's just not like your culture.
There's no such thing as a weird culture.
Rather than opposing views, or rather than violence, or rather than discrimination,
Just sit and talk.
just sit and talk, you know? Just have a discussion.
Put yourself in that person's shoes and try to understand why they feel the way they do. And end it by being tolerant. Just be tolerant. That's it.